I hope you're all doing well. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the art of skill stacking. First of all, what does that mean? Put simply, skill stacking is throughout our life, we learn things, we become good at certain things, and these skills stack up one on top of the other. Sort of like math, you learn addition, then you stack that and you learn subtraction, then you learn multiplication, then you learn division, and you're stacking layer by layer by layer until you get to algebra, and then calculus, and then trigonometry, and on and on and on. You build up little skills that get you to the next thing, and when you put all the skill that you stacked together, you're able to do things that you would have never thought possible. I'll give you a real-world example. I used to work in door-to-door sales, and anyone who's done that, you know you're getting, boom, door slammed in your face. You're getting, get off my lawn. You're getting cops called on you. Dogs are running out at you. Heat waves, rain, so many things happen. And what that built was rejection sensitivity. I can handle extreme rejection, and I might feel a little upset about it for a little while, but it kind of just rolls off me. Then it built communication skills. Then it built understanding psychology, like understanding why do people say yes? Why do people say no? And how can I maximize my chances? It built the ability to do a sales pitch, to be able to easily, quickly, and understandably explain who I am, what I do, what I want, and how I can help you. All of those things transferred into my ability to do public speaking. I am able to get on a Zoom meeting and clearly explain who I am. Oh, my name's Lawrence Harris. I'm a youth empowerment speaker who helps teens and young adults improve their confidence, self-worth, and decision-making skills so that they can improve academically and in their career after high school. I'm calling you to just ask, does your school ever bring in guest speakers? And if so, who's in charge of that? Who is he? Lawrence Harris. What does he do? He's a youth empowerment speaker. Why is he calling us? Because he wants to speak at our school and help our students. Why should we care? Because our students are going to improve academically and in their career after high school. Well, what does he want? He wants to know who would be in charge of bringing him in. Well, who is he? What does he do? Why is he calling us? That is something I learned doing door-to-door sales. Now, another thing that happened. Years ago, when I was 15, I was 15 at the time, I was at this summer learning program. It was called Project Lift. And for about 5 hours every day, they would have people come in and explain things to us, such as color theory. What is color theory? Put simply, certain colors make you feel certain things and make you think certain ways. Almost all restaurants use the color red because it makes you think hunger, meat, blood. As graphic as it sounds, when you got a steak, there's some blood. Red meat, things like that. Or McDonald's uses yellow because it is warm, happy, sunshine. It also reminds you of French fries. So, color theory is understanding how certain colors affect people's feelings. And by knowing that, and knowing graphic design, which is something they taught us, I was able to make my logo. I was able to figure out what colors people respond to. Then I understood fonts, because different word fonts have different feelings. They're very, cartoonish, bubbly, graffiti letters, and then there's serious, Times New Roman, Montserrat, things like that. Liber Bakersville, I believe that's how it's pronounced, Liber Bakersville, something like that, is a very authoritative New York Times kind of font. Then, another skill I learned, I used to be a forest tour guide. It wasn't like a massive forest, it was more like a little creek. And when I was there, I would do a lot of walking. So a skill that I learned was how to walk. I know that sounds basic, but most people when they walk down like a slump posture like this, I walk like this. I learned to become very aware of how I'm walking to make sure I don't fall and trip. Simple as that sounds, it transferred into public speaking so that now when I'm walking on a stage, I don't trip over chords. In your life, you might learn something that in the moment, it seems very simple. It seems very like, when would I ever need to know this? But years down the line, that very thing might become super useful. In a small way, I spent a lot of time being friends with the children of Asian immigrants. And their parents had like really strong accents. Or most of the food I like eating is from Asian restaurants owned by immigrants. So I spend a lot of time hearing very strong accents, mainly Vietnam, Indonesia, China, Korea, Cambodia, places like that. So, because I spent so much time around that, I unknowingly have the skill of being able to understand different accents. I can understand almost anything. Now, how is that useful? There are many scenarios that I've been in where someone who had a strong accent asked me for directions somewhere, such as where's the bus stop, or where's the nearest McDonald's, or things like that. And that's just very small, but if I were to ever decide to visit a different country, it would become very useful. Being able to understand English with a very strong accent can be very useful if you work in a sales job, if you work in retail, food, restaurants, things like that. Another skill you might have learned is how to study effectively. Time management skills, communication skills. That's one that will, even just communication skills by itself, super duper effective. And over time, you take one skill, you add another skill, you add, let's just put time management on the board. Then you add things like communication skills. Then you add something like content creation. Then you might add something such as, let's think, you're good at art. Then you add graphic design. You're good at cooking. So, let's put this all together. We have rejection sensitivity, color theory, which is the ability to understand how colors affect the human brain. Time management skills, you're good at knowing what to do, when to do it. Communication, you can clearly explain your point. You can make people want to listen to you. Content creation, you know how to make YouTube videos and TikToks. Art, you're able to be very creative. Graphic design, you're able to make a logo. Cooking, when you put all of these things together, this allows you to start a YouTube channel about cooking videos and eventually create a business off of that. Because you know how to make logos, because you understand colors and graphic design, you know how to manage your time effectively so you get things done at a time that is effective. You're able to communicate, so you're able to explain why people should come to your restaurant, what you do, who you are, all that good stuff. You're able to make content about that thing. You're able to design your logos, and you make good food. So the point is this. Throughout our life, we knowingly, which would mean I went to culinary school, knowingly developing a skill, you did it on purpose. You went out and learned a new language. You went to trade school. You knowingly developed that skill. But a lot of times we unknowingly develop skills, such as you might be really funny and it's just natural to you. It's a skill that somehow, some way you learned without trying to learn. You might be really good at taking care of children, and that's a skill that you unknowingly learned because you grew up having to take care of younger siblings. You might become a preschool teacher using that skill. You unknowingly learned graphic design because you really like painting. That's a skill that you unknowingly learned. You might have become really good at communication skills because you did door-to-door sales. That's a skill that you knowingly and unknowingly learned. You might have become really good at so many things, and over time you learn one skill and then another skill and then another skill, and by stacking skills you are able to use them together to do a bigger thing, such as making a YouTube channel. Well, you need to know how to make content, you need to know how to make a thumbnail, you need to know how to market the YouTube channel, you need to know about the algorithm. There's all these little skills that go into the big thing. Fixing a car, you need to know about the engine, you need to know about the tires, you need to know all these little things, these little skills that allow you to do the big thing. With that said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe. If you're looking for one-on-one coaching, to bring a speaker in for your school or youth event, you can find the information in the links below, as well as I recently created a new journal that you can find on my website, lawrenceharris.com. Have a good one.